Hello friends, this is our second lecture on biogenesis and biosynthesis of natural products. So let's start. In last lecture we have already discussed about primary and secondary metabolites. In this lecture just see the difference between this primary and secondary metabolites. So according to the definition, you can see primary metabolites are the compounds that are directly involved in the metabolic pathway of an organism necessary for its growth, development and reproduction. As we already discussed this, primary metabolites are compounds that are used in the growth, development, and reproduction of organisms. So they are essential, means in daily lives, production of these primary metabolites are required. Then, in case of secondary metabolites, these are organic compounds that are produced by various organisms that are not directly involved in the growth, development, and reproduction of organism, but are essential in the ecological and other activities like its antibiotic formation or pigments are also there in case of secondary metabolites, which provides color for the plant and animals or organisms. Then in case of primary metabolites, they are also termed as central metabolites, and secondary metabolites are also termed as specialized metabolites. As secondary metabolites are used for the another purposes, not in the growth and development or reproduction, which are essential factors. So the second one is growth phase. Primary metabolites are produced during the growth phase of organism, and secondary metabolites are produced during the stationary phase of organism. As you can say, in case of a growth phase means when there is a growth of organism taking place. During that phase only, this primary metabolites are produces. Okay, which is a continuous process, and this phase is called as a trophophase. This phase of growth is also termed as trophophase. And in case of secondary metabolites, as that are not essential that much, so secondary metabolites are produced during the stationary phase of organism, and this phase is called as idiophase. Okay. Then in case of quantity, as you can see, primary metabolites are important for the growth, development, and these are the important factors of any organism. For the growth and development, these primary metabolites are essential. So they are produced in a large quantities, and in case of secondary metabolites are produced in a small quantities. Now, primary metabolites, they are produced in large quantities. We can easily extract them. So, primary metabolites are easier to extract than the secondary metabolites. So, it is difficult to extract secondary metabolites. Then, in case of specificity, primary metabolites are not specific to species and thus might be identical in some organisms. But in case of secondary metabolites, some important antibiotics or some properties of different organisms are differ from species to species. So secondary metabolites are specific to species and thus are different in different organisms. Suppose any microorganism is able to produce any one type of antibiotic, then second species of that organism or microorganism may produce a different species. So it is a specific to the species only. Then in case of primary metabolites, they are involved in growth, development, and reproduction of organism, but secondary metabolites are involved in ecological functions and species interactions. Okay. Then in case of structure, primary metabolites might form the molecular structure in organism as it contains proteins, carbohydrates. So it gives its use in the formation of structure of or molecular structure of organism. But in case of secondary metabolites, they are not a part of molecular structure of organism. They are just part of a defense function. Okay. Then in case of primary metabolites, they are used in various industries for different purpose. As you know, in case of primary metabolites, there are proteins, then carbohydrates. These are important for the growth, and as they are in high quantity requirement, so they can be easily available in market also. You can see there are protein powders and all. So they are produced or they are used in various industries for the different purposes. Then in case of secondary metabolites, contain antibiotics, alkaloids, pigments. Then these factors are yes just used in the pharmaceutical or formation of drug. So secondary metabolites are used in various biotechnological procedures for the formation of drugs and other compounds. Okay. Then in case of a defensive action, primary metabolites are not active in the defense mechanism as they are used in a growth and development or reproduction, but secondary metabolites are active against the foreign invaders and might be involved in defense mechanism. Okay. Then most important examples. Examples of primary metabolites includes proteins, enzymes, carbohydrates, lipids. See, lipids are there which can give the structural feature for that organism. Then vitamins, ethanol, lactic acid, butanol, etc. So these are the example of primary metabolite. And in case of secondary metabolite, There are some important examples, that steroids, essential oils, phenolics, alkaloids, pigments, antibiotics, etc. Now let's see few examples of primary and secondary metabolites. Examples of primary metabolites includes enzymes. So enzymes are proteins that are produced in body of different organism as primary metabolite. You can see in case of different organisms, the enzymes will be different for their different reactions, whatever happening in that organism. So they require different enzymes for running of that various synthesis. So enzymes are proteins that are produced in the body of different organism as a primary metabolite. Enzymes are important compounds that catalyze various metabolic pathways throughout the body. See, enzyme act as a biocatalyst. As you know, catalyst is a one compound which can increases or enhances the rate of reaction, but they do not take actually part in that reaction. After the reaction, they get separated. So, enzymes are also biocatalyst. These enzymes in any cell or in any organism's body or cell, so they are a biocatalyst. Enzymes are important compounds that are catalyze various metabolic pathways or synthesis throughout the body. So enzymes are proteins formed by polypeptide chain of amino acids that are highly specific for the reaction they catalyze. Different enzymes are specific for the different catalyzed reactions. Amylase, protease, this type of enzymes are there for the different synthesis. In the absence of enzymes, the biological reaction would require long period of time to complete. As per the normal reaction, we also in lab use different catalyst which increases the rate of reaction, which we use to decreases the period of that reaction. So in case of body also, in case of organism also, the enzymes are used, or without that enzymes, that reaction will take a long time to complete. So in absence of enzymes, the biological reaction would require a long time to complete that synthesis or that step. Then enzymes are conservative and do not get spent during the chemical reaction. They get separated afterward. These are involved in almost all form of metabolic pathways ranging from cellular respiration, means first cellular respiration, to the internal digestion, then absorption. Means firstly in body we do, in case of metabolism there is a first catabolism, then anabolism. Along this all processes, the first is a cellular respiration, and cell will be absorb this nutrients and all, then different points will be there, then internal digestion system will be there, then absorption will be there, all the nutrients will be. So among this all pathways, or among this all catabolic anabolic pathways, there is different enzymes taking part in every stage. In case of industry, this all enzymes can be very useful in industries. The enzymes produced in various organisms can be extracted from their bodies. So they are extracted for their use in industries for processes like fermenting of wine, then leveling of bread, curding of cheese, and brewing of beers, like all. Then some example of enzyme include lipase, amylase, protease. These different enzymes are there used in a different synthesis. The next example of primary metabolite is carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is a group of organic compounds that play an important role in structural and physiological components of the living beings. Carbohydrates are among the most important primary metabolites that are common in all living organisms. Then, a carbohydrate is a biomolecule form of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. You know already about this concept that sugar or glucose that we use in our everyday life, these all words are much more familiar to us. So, carbohydrates, that is monosaccharides, disaccharides. So, carbohydrate is a biomolecule form in the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. These provide structure to the organism like cellulose in plants and peptidoglycan in bacteria. So, in presence of bacteria, peptidoglycan layer gives a specific shape to that bacteria, as like cellulose also in plant. Then, besides this, are also compounds that are oxidized to obtain energy for the growth and functioning of organism. Carbohydrates of various type depending on their length and composition, they are also divided based on their functions. Carbohydrate act as a substrate for the important biological processes like Krebs cycle and glycolysis. You already know this. Monosaccharides are also involved in the formation of macromolecules and might have even function as a reservoir of energy and fat, right? We have already know this, okay? Then some example of carbohydrate include glucose, cellulose, glycogen, ketene, peptidoglycan layer, etc. Then let's see two more example about secondary metabolites. So one is a pigment. Pigments are compound of various color that are produced by various organisms for various purposes. In plant, you can see various type of or various color flowers will be there. So in case of pigment, there are various colors and they produced by various organisms. In case of microorganism, also there are different colors. So pigments are also essential as a secondary metabolites. These are secondary metabolites and are produced by various organisms like plants and bacteria. Plant pigments like chlorophyll are essential for processes like photosynthesis. Means it is a pigment which can give a color to that plant, but also it's used in photosynthesis to produce the food in case of plant. Whereas bacterial pigments can be extracted to be used in the industries as a dyes. So pigments are mostly non-toxic and might even have medicinal importance to be used as antioxidants and additives. Then, bacterial pigments produced for industrial purposes by microbial fermentation have several advantages such as cheaper production, means their rate will be cheaper, then easier extraction, they can be easily extracted, then higher yield will be there, higher yields through stain improvement, and there will be no lack of raw material. As we are doing from the bacteria, we can easily produce that bacteria in high quantity and we can easily extract that secondary pigments or secondary metabolites from that bacteria. So there is no lack of raw material and no seasonal will be there. If we are extracting from the plants, there will be depend on season, but as if we are extracting from the organisms, then there is a no problem of season, so there is a no seasonal. Biopigments produced from microorganisms are preferred over those from plant because of their stability and availability for cultivation throughout the year. Means throughout the year we can produce that secondary metabolite from that microorganisms. Example of these pigments include chlorophyll, astaxanthin, zeaxanthin, indigoindin, rhodopsin, etc. Then one more example is flavonoids. This is also important one. Flavonoids are secondary metabolites in plants that are found in all fruits and vegetables. Flavonoids are phytonutrients, meaning plant chemicals, right? Which are present in the phyto means plant. So they are plant nutrients, they are plant chemicals. Then they also provide some coloration to many plants and animals. These are the largest group of phytonutrients found in plant and more than 6,000 type of known. Out of this, we know more than 6,000. Okay. These compounds have important antioxidants and anti-inflammatory and immune system benefits. As you can see, there are also antioxidants with anti-inflammatory action will be there. You can see this anti-inflammatory, antibiotic, this type of used in the secondary metabolites. Immune system benefits means they are the secondary metabolites. They also have antimicrobial, photoreceptors, visual attractors, feeding repellents, and for light screening functions. You can note this all activities from this flavonoids also, antimicrobial or photoreceptor activity or light screening function. These all activities are not used for the growth of or reproduction type of purpose, but they are the external activities. Okay, means they are from the secondary metabolites. Flavonoids are known to control the development of individual organs and the whole plant and hence contribute to stress-induced morphogenic responses of plant. Flavonoids may play critical roles as signaling molecules in mammals through their ability to interact with a wide range of protein kinase. Okay. Then some example of flavonoids found in various vascular plants include epignin, luteolin, hespertin, genistein, etc. So I hope you all get these points and thanks for this lecture.